Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour, the first edition of the week, an edition that is dedicated to looking at what is making news in Cameroon with respect to the Indomitable Lions' participation in the upcoming Qatar World Cup. We know that they left Cameroon some days back after the release of the list of players that are going to be representing Cameroon at the World Cup. A list that has raised lots and lots of dust because of some names that were not selected and others that have been added. We are going to be looking at that list in today's edition of the program, as well as other polemics surrounding the preparation and definite participation of the Indomitable Lions at this year's World Cup that is going to be hosted by Qatar. We are discussing this with people who are lovers of sports, but experts in the domain. And in the studio with me, we have Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, who is the national president of the Reform Party, but he's sitting in here also today as a former footballer. Good evening, Senior Barrister, and welcome.
Good evening, three esteemed televiewers. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to all Reform Party members and sympathizers.
You know, when I announced that you were a former football player, many persons were taken aback.
Well, that's a part of me that many people don't know, but I actually played second division football with Austin Club Muliwe. I played at the University of Yaoundé, the Faculty of Law, as a goalkeeper for 3 years. And when I came out, I played with Union Douala. I had to drop football because of the bar. Okay.
We also are going to be discussing this evening with Mr. Nkede Lawrence, who is a sports analyst, well-known name in the domain. We are glad to have you this evening with us, Mr. Lawrence, coming in from Yaoundé, the nation's capital.
Good evening to you. Good evening to your rich panel. It's always a pleasure to talk sport, and I think it's an honor for me to be on Prime Hour.
Going to be having Mr. Enow participate in today's edition of the program. He's stuck in traffic. We hope he beats that traffic so that he joins us and contribute in this discussion for tonight. We'll start with you in the studio, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. The list that was made public by head coach Rigobert Song, a list that has generated a lot of energy, negative and good. What, according to you, is fundamentally good and bad in that list?
Well, the first thing is that the drawing up of a list in this type of circumstances is the duty and the prerogative of the coach. People should learn to allow the competent people do their job. The coach knows why he chooses X and leaves Y. And I think that in this present case, the head coach of the national team, Rigobert Song Bahanak, has come up with a list of 26 players, and we see on that list that it actually answers most of the criteria that Cameroonians wanted to see, and it has left out some people whom some of us would have wanted to see in the team, but I think he has good reason for what he did. Well, the name that comes up for those who have been left out is Nkede, and I'm so surprised that many people are even asking that a presidential decree should be taken to bring him back into the squad. Well, I think Cameroonians they forget a lot. They forget very fast, because if you are a lover of football and you watch the matches of the Lions, you see that the coach is very right in his choice, because during the African Football Cup of Nations, we saw that Mr. Nkede, although he played so well and participated in the qualifying goal, in other matches, the matches here at home, he had some lapses, some very disturbing lapses that even pushed some people to cry out that he be replaced. Now, we were not the only ones watching. The coach too was watching. So if the coach saw those lapses and decided to go in for a younger man, because, I mean, there is one thing you cannot beat. At age of 60, you have to be it's a right on there to go to the mountain to attempt climbing it. So you see, some of those lapses are due to age, and you cannot. There's nothing you can do. We saw that with Jenebin Jitap in a match in Yaoundé against Egypt. We saw those lapses, and I think the coach did well in a very crucial tournament like the one coming ahead to look for younger blood, somebody who has more energy, who is less prone to having those type of flaws. Are you saying
that Nkulu is younger?
I think it's War. I think it should be War Christopher instead. War Christopher, who is instead.
Who is going to take his
who
place?
Takes the place of Nkede is not Nkulu.
Okay, the guy who plays for Rennes.
Yes.
Now, we have just been joined by Mr. Ako in the studio. We thank God we were able to beat the traffic. Good evening and welcome on your first reaction, assessment of the list that was made public by head coach Rigoberto.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. Thank you. I think I've been watching
Senior Barrister
Ashu. It's my first time sharing the same platform with him. Good evening to televiewers, and I think that, yes, I'm happy to be here to talk about the issue. You know, I've been listening to the senior barrister. I'm a little surprised that he is also knowledgeable in the world of sports. And yes, Leo, let's discuss about the issue, because to me, you know, we Cameroonians, we need to understand some basics. We have a head coach. We have given the responsibility to the head coach to select players. And when we talk about responsibility, it also goes with accountability. It therefore means at the end of the tournament, the head coach is going to be assessed based on his decisions. And we cannot start by handpicking and making decisions for the head coach. That's one of the issues that we need to understand. What are the responsibilities of the head coach? Now, the burning topic is the non-selection of Nkede. My question is, why should it be a burning topic? I think I want to align a little bit with Cameroonians on emotional perspective. You know, we are so emotional to the extent that more often than not, we leave out facts and some history. When you look at Nkede, he's a fine gentleman. He's one of the most outstanding lions as we currently speak at club level. When we look at Nkede, he's tactically very good, physically strong for the role. However, what we need to understand as Cameroonians is Nkede isn't the first. Neither is it going to end at this level. When we look at it historically, in 2017 we won the AFCON, but there was no Joel Matip, for which we all clamored to see Joel Matip play for the Lions. But we won without Joel Matip. I'll give you a rundown of players who haven't been called up, but who are also good and would have loved to be there. You have Jacques Zoua, who was in the squad for 2017, who is absent. You have people like Manjek, he isn't there. You have a player like Siani. We all saw the goal Siani scored. We have a player like Ahon Mokudi, who is also absent. All those, and the list is long.
Vincent Nje is not there.
Nje as well is not there.
Shining.
Those are players who are also capable and have the capacity to put on the green, red, yellow. And they know they have that capacity and are willing.
Tawamba was there.
Tawamba had already made a publication on his platform, waiting to be called up, but he's absent. But what's shocking is we have a home-based player, but Tawamba is left out. So those are some of the things that we need to understand, that the head coach has a responsibility to come out with a list of players, and you have those who will be there and those who will be out. I want to give you memory lane again. Permit me, Leo. France won the last World Cup, but guess who was absent? Benzema. Benzema was left out of the French squad, but they went ahead to win the World Cup. Permit me give you this other example. Before the World Cup that Germany won, that is, I think that was in 2010, one of the best strikers in the world at the time was called Kevin Kurani. Kevin Kurani at the time played for Schalke 04. He was one of the best strikers. But Joachim Löw, the head coach, the then head coach of Germany, decided to go along with Müller, who played for Bayern Munich, and the aging Kroos. But guess what? They won the World Cup. It therefore means there is a responsibility vested on the head coach to make a decision. And we need to understand that fact, that when that is given to him, he can make the mistakes, and when those errors are committed, he's going to be fired.
Okay, he's going to be fired. Mr. Lawrence, I want to get your first reading of the lists that was made public. Actually, the guys are already in training. But do you understand the attitude of Cameroonians questioning what the head coach has done and his past to take responsibilities on the persons he's called up?
Well, I understand effectively the attitude of Cameroonians. You know, we have more than 25 million coaches in this country. Everybody has his opinion, but the list has been made and the list has been sent. And according to FIFA rules, people should understand that once the list of 26 players have been sent to FIFA, there is no turning back. So all the petitions, the protest marches for Nkede is just a waste of time, because for any player to be replaced in that list, if the list has effectively been sent, we only need another player to be injured before any other player can go into the list. But coming back to the list of 26, I would like to look at it from a different perspective. I look at the structure of the list. When you look at the structure, 3 goalkeepers, 7 defenders, 9 midfielders, and 10 attackers. I mean, it gives you a vision of what Coach Rigoberto wants. It's the first time we are going to such a competition with 10 attackers. I mean, we are moving to the World Cup with an offensive squad, whereas generally African teams at the World Cup are mostly defensive teams. You go to the World Cup as an African team, you go to defend, and if there is a possibility of a counter-offensive play, you try to get the goal. But I think things are changing, and we are going there with 10 attackers, even if we are just going to play with 3 on the pitch, 10 attackers, and just 7 defenders. It's really something exceptional. I mean, people don't look at it from that perspective, but going to the World Cup with just 7 defenders, it means that the defenders we have selected, we have bestowed our trust, or the coach has 200% confidence in them. 9 midfielders, I mean, the structure of the number of players selected per position tells you the ambition of the coach, not only the coach, but equally the president of the federation, who said we are going to Qatar to play 7 games, and that is his dream. So when you look at it, people are crying foul play that X or Y player has been left out, but we can't take everybody. And I would like to say that the fact that we have 2 local players, for me, it's already a big progression, because The last time Cameroon participated was in 2014, and we had just one local player. And I think before that, we just over between 1 and 0 local players. So this time around, we are moving to 2 local players, and we are moving to 2 local players at a time where FIFA is going to pay back clubs who have been sending players to the World Cup. So for Cotton Sports and Column of Jan Lobo, at least 100 million francs will fall into the coffers. And I focus on things like that, little details like that, which is going to go, they're going to go a long way to reinforce the local championship. So for me, the list has been done. There is nothing we can do. We have to judge Coach Rigoberto by the results and not throw stones on him just at the threshold of the competition.
Yes, how very pivotal, how so important to the team is Nkede to understand what is happening today? Was he a very key player to the team?
Well, you know, players, every player is important for the team. I mean, even Oyongo Bitolo, who was just the animator off the pitch, was as important as all the players. But for Nkede, I know he plays a central role in the heart of the defense. It's true that he was for the assist that led to the winning goal at what I call the build-up miracle that propelled Cameroon to the World Cup. But even in that same game, he really had some drawbacks, and he had problems when dealing with teams that really players who go really fast. And we get rumors of the conflicts in the rest room, and Eto trying to say that he wants a group which is humanly clean before moving to the World Cup. So sometimes you are not selected not because of your performance on the pitch, but because of your attitude off the pitch. We have been losing World Cups, having the best players on the continent. So sometimes if there is an internal squabble and he has to be the scapegoat for the team to move forward, then we'll take it so. But on the pitch, he has been instrumental, and we have played certain games without him, and the coach is equally looking at the future of the team. It's true that the selection of a player like Nicolas Nkulu, for me, is quite surprising given his statistics and even his performance in the double friendlies. But only the coach does the selection, and he knows best. It's rather unfortunate that we were at the press conference. We waited an hour and a half to have just that list, but no comment was done, no explanation was done on why this player was selected and not this other player. So we are just going to be hovering around with the question marks and trying to give tentative results. But I think all lies in the hands of Coach Rigoberto, who I think at this moment knows effectively that he's in danger.
Okay, thank you very much. We are coming back to you. Let us get what the people in the studio have to say with the discussions. This one says, hi, Mr. Leo, good evening in the studio. I believe Cameroon is going to take the cup to shock the world, but I'm not happy with the coach of not putting Nkede Clinton on the list of players for the Qatar. Swagstar is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening in the studio. The problem of Cameroon is replacing Nkede, but bringing Kulu to replace him. This one says, good evening in the studio. The problem of Cameroon is not taking everybody. Good evening, the panel. Samuel Eto'o is the problem, and World Cup down fat Cameroon has failed. Okay. Good evening. I stand with the fact that Nkede should replace Kulu, since Kulu is to some extent weaker than when it comes to Cameroon for team. Timothy is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Where justice for him who did job for Cameroon qualify, and a player who never played qualifications match. I would still say give Nkede a chance. For Cyprian is writing there. Now, let us look at the Eto'o touch into it. How do we understand that people are blaming Eto'o for what is happening in the selection of a list?
Well, many people think that Eto'o is actually the person who is drawing up the lineup because being the president of the Football Association and also being an international coach, he may be overshadowing Rigobert Song behind the scenes. So they think that all this, I think Idrisu Mohammed came up with an open challenge to Eto'o and said he should leave Song alone. Let Song do his job. But this very Idrisu forgot that even if that were to be the case, Eto'o has been the coach of Antalyaspor, I think. He has coached Antalyaspor in Turkey. So he is somebody who knows what he's doing. He's an international coach. He's a licensed coach. For now, Mr. Song has not complained that Eto'o is disturbing him. And I don't see anything wrong if the two of them have to work hand in gloves to come up with a good team. I think that we're talking about the non-selection of Nkede, but there is even a more glaring case, that of Fabrice Ondoa. Because Fabrice Ondoa, if you look at all the three goalkeepers who have been selected, the only person who reassures Cameroonians, with whom Cameroonians are comfortable, is Fabrice. And before this list came up, many people took to the air to say Fabrice Ondoa should be called up into that team, even if he has to just sit on the bench. But these people, they decided not to call Fabrice. This is because, like my friend abroad, they said, they have their own mindset about the type of team they want. Fabrice has been absent from this team for a very long time. And the other two gentlemen who have been called have been present in the team, I think, for the past 5 matches. So if they want a harmonious group, it would be better to have these people who have been working together than to bring somebody who has been absent. And we are also told that Fabrice is the cousin of Onana. So if they are cousins, are we not likely to transfer family feud into the national team? I think these guys have taken into consideration all these aspects, and they think that it is better to let sleeping dogs lie. Then you come now to the selection of Mr. Nkulu. Well, I remember Coach Song Bahanak said he has a solution for Switzerland, but he will not reveal it. And I also remember that previous coaches of Cameroon national team have come up with some very, very dubious lineups which make people to raise their eyebrows. When a player like Ndip was asked to be in the attack, but never to try to score any goal. His work was just to wear out the defenders of the opposing team. And the coach said that role was to enable Abubakar to have a free hand to just parade through the defense and score. And we all saw the results. So I think Nkulu, like my friend rightly said here, Nkulu has been chosen because of the type of role, the type of game, the game plan they have. Because this is a player who can stick to somebody like Ejiga. He can cling to somebody like Ejiga and won't let him go. But I don't see that with Nkede. You see, Nkulu has that capacity to really man somebody and make sure that you are there with him in the field.
Yeah, but Nkulu of yesterday is still very performant.
Well, we saw the match.
He scored. Was it yesterday? Yes,
yesterday.
He scored yesterday. He scored the third goal for his club.
So he scored.
Yes,
fourth goal. Right?
He scored the third
goal.
Out
of 4, yeah.
Yes, yesterday. So you think that we should have confidence in the coach?
I think so, because when he did not call Nkulu alone, he called Manjek, as he mentioned, you see. But when you look at the performance of Manjek was a bit slow. And I think that this coach is looking for people who can be fast. And the match against South Korea, I saw that they allowed Kulu to play 90 minutes to actually see whether he was going to get tired or not. And he stood his grounds. I think that this man gives satisfaction to the coaches, because the type of role, I am very sure that what the role they want to give him is to paralyze all those fast forwards who will want to come and disturb the Cameroon defense.
Okay, we hope that works. When you look at the team, are you very comfortable? Zako?
With the Lions,
at least considering the standards of other teams across the world.
When you ask me how comfortable am I, I think that I'm blessed to be a Cameroonian.
Okay.
Because we are going, in 2017 when we went for the AFCON, nobody tipped Cameroon to be a favorite, but we ended up winning the trophy. When we went for the Confederations Cup, we were beaten in the finals by France. We came back with the silver medal. Nobody tipped Cameroon to be a favorite. Neither did. So we have a history as far as football is concerned. We are going for the tournament, and we want to showcase the qualities of Cameroon out there. There is the ultimate goal for the tournament is to get the trophy, but we should also understand that there are levels which, when you attain, it's also applaudable. Today, when we talk about Cameroon in world football, it's because we attained the quarterfinals. It's not because we actually won the trophy. When we talk about other nations, like England, in modern day football, England hasn't won any trophy, but they are a household to reckon with. So, in a nutshell, we are going for this tournament with a very positive mindset. We have a squad made up of 10 strikers. We are going with an offensive mindset, irrespective of what people have to say, but and contrary to prior years, we are going with strikers like Abubakar. We are going with a striker like Choupo-Moting, who is one of the best, as we currently speak, in European League. He has been scoring the goals in Bayern.
Yeah.
We have a player like, in the person of Buemo, who just joined the Lions. We have people like Muminga Male, as well as Carl Toko Ekambi. It tells you that we have a very dense forward line. Our mindset is we are targeting getting many goals. I'll give you the slogan of Rishkat when Rishkat joined FC Barcelona so many years. He said, "You're going to score me 4 goals, and I'll score 5. And we all saw how Samuel Eto'o, Deco, Ronaldinho, they mesmerized defensive compartments of other teams, and they scored so many goals. That's the strategy, and that's the philosophy that I see. We have a midfield which is so compact. We have Zambo Anguissa, who is in fine form. We not leaving out Kunde Malong, who has played almost all the games as far as Olympiacos is concerned. We have a team that has a focus of dishing out goals, scoring as many goals as possible. Why not look at Andre Onana, who started with Inter Milan on the bench, but today we all watch him in the Champions League as well as in the Serie A. Today he is the first choice goalkeeper for Inter Milan, but how many Cameroonians did vouch that Andre Onana did make the right choice? How many said he didn't make the right decision? But today, performances on the pitch, he has demonstrated. That's as far as the players are concerned. But when I look at tactical disposition, when we look at our players, you now see that we have a team whereby you can adopt different tactical strategies in the game. You can move, you can use the diamond system, and it's going to work properly because you have Brian Buemo, who is so fast on the wings. You have somebody like Mr. Kum. Don't be surprised with the current dispensation of our players that during the World Cup, I will find it difficult to start with Abubakar.
Okay.
Because the dynamics are changing. We should not be so sentimental and emotional because of past records. We should look at things today and the strategies that we want to adopt for the future. When you look at the diamond system, I might not go with Abubakar because you have Brian Buemo, who is extremely fast, and on a tactical perspective, can give a lot of support to the defensive compartment. Watch him play even in Brighton. He has this far scored 5 goals, and he gives a lot of support and assist to the strikers. Look at somebody like Mominga Madu on the other side. It therefore means if you have to play in that kind of a system, you might have to play with Choupo-Moting rather than Abubakar, looking at their current performance. However, we Cameroonians will get so sentimental that when Choupo-Moting will be put in there and Abubakar is on the bench, Cameroonians might feel frustrated because we want to think about the past record. He is just from scoring 8 goals in the last edition of the AFCON. That's the history we still have. But with current performance on the pitch, Choupo-Moting is doing better off than Abubakar. Look at what they have been doing in their various clubs. We have a system where the coach is giving us a variety of options. You have an option where we can play with the 4-4-2 system. And with the 4-4-2 system, you have the chance of using Abubakar and Karl Toko Ekambi to play at the front line. You have a system we can play 4-3-3. You have a system where we can still play the 3-5-3. So we have the current crop of players. We now have a variety of options as far as our game plan is concerned. And you can change the option based on the opponent on a particular day. We'll be playing, the system we might be playing against Brazil might not be the same system that we might be playing Serbia.
Okay.
And so I think that when I look at the squad, I feel so comfortable.
Okay. Lawrence, some persons are questioning the capacity of Rigobert Song to effectively lead the team. Do you think Rigobert Song would have a complex in front of any of these players, as many persons are suggesting, hinting on the fact that maybe President Samuel Eto'o may want to overwrite some of his decisions and be there to guide some of the things they do? And your take on the way we left Cameroon, preparation and the atmosphere, the energy around the team?
Well, I think, I don't know why people undermine Coach Rigobert Song. When he qualified us in Builder against Nigeria, nobody questioned his qualities. Nobody questioned his tactics. Then going into the World Cup, people are there questioning. I mean, when you look at his title, he is a coach, general manager of the national team. So his main task is to manage the players, talk to the players, and we have a video analyst. We have an assistant coach, 2 assistant coaches. I mean, Menye is there to bring out the tactics and bring out propositions for solutions to beat the various opponents. So you should not just look at Rigobert Song as an individual, but it's an entire team working in synergy. So you have to give it you have to give him some credit because he is the one seated on the bench, and he is the one who is going to receive the praises or the stones if things go wrong. And we can equally not undermine the omnipresence of the president of the federation. Let's not forget that he has been a player and has played at the best, highest level. So he will always come in to give his own point of view on X or on Y. You can't stop him from doing that because he is a lover of football, a lover of Cameroon, and he will always want to have his point of view into either the selections of the players or the tactics. He has always influenced the team right back even in 2019 where we played the African Nations Cup in Egypt, where he was the one who brought up Seedorf coach Seedorf and the Netherlands, the duo from Netherlands, Kluivert and Seedorf, I beg your pardon. And now, going to this World Cup, the way things were being done, it was surprising that the farewell game was between local players and versus Jamaica, local players and Abubakar versus Jamaica, because Abubakar had to receive the flag. Fire Collins was present, he didn't participate. Tawamba was present. It's really surprising that he was even dressed in the Lions outfit, saluted the public. They were all cheered and hailed in the stadium, and at the end of the day, he wasn't he wasn't in the final list. And the way things were being done, the press or the media or the Cameroonians in general were not expecting the list to be published immediately after the game. And when it was announced that we should wait for the list, it took 1 hour 30 minutes. So I don't know whether it's in the dress room that they were constituting the final part of the list. But it took 1 hour 30 minutes for the list to come in an envelope and given to Coach Rigobertson to read out. So I think there was a little bit of cacophony in the way things were being done, and especially in the fact that there was no interaction for the coach to give reasons why X or Y players were selected, just as it's been done in other countries. So the players left with the national flag, and I think it's always good that in front of a crowd of 40,000 spectators, when team captain Abubakar takes that flag and is going to defend the national colors, I think he weighs immense responsibility vested upon his shoulders. Mr. Alko was saying earlier that Abubakar will sit on the bench. That will be very, very, very difficult. The headache is on the part of Coach Rigobertson to see how all these players are going to fit in. You were talking a while ago of the performance of Choupo-Moting. That performing at club level has nothing to do with performing at national team. We have players who have been very good at club level, but once they come to the national team, it's difficult. At Bayern Munich, you have the Müllers, the Serge Gnabry's who are there to fit with the ball. It's not the same case. It's not the same pedigree. It's not the same talent we have when it comes to the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. And at the World Cup, we need attackers who will go there and provoke the opponents. Not only that, but equally be able to draw back and defend. And when you look at the defense records of Choupo-Moting, it's really below average. So depending on the coaching strategy, we'll see which type of system of play. Are we going to go into a 4-4-2 with Choupo-Moting Abubakar up front? Are we going to go in our general classical 4-3-3 with 3 attackers up front, 3 midfielders and 4 defenders? Well, maybe each system of play would be put in place in response to what the opponent is going to pose. All these are still question marks that we ourselves cannot answer, but can just try to give tentative results for the viewers to really have an idea of what's going on.
Views shared by those watching us. The manner in which the list of players was presented to Cameroonians was like when a class prefect reading the names of noisemakers. The coach needs to explain why he calls each player in a press conference like it is done in other countries. It is a pity that we are a football nation, but Cameroonians of 20 years and below have never seen their country won a match at the World Cup. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Saibu, Maru and Gum are worst players we are taking to Qatar. We prefer Che Malon and Mukoko. This one says, Cameroon football is politics. What you need is not real. Alem Oliver is writing from Kumba. When we need players, that should be players that we need. If people talk against something I know there is wrong. Okay, I don't get, it's not too clear. Good evening, I'm Jonas from Limbe. Let us be very objective in relation to the selection. Do we not see that the captain of the Lions, to me, is really very tired for the World Cup? Watch and see. The Lord is our strength. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Eto and Song are the two coach in the Cameroon national team. Okay. Good evening to all in the panel. To me, Coach Song made the list following the play style he will be putting in place in Qatar. So let's keep our mouth shut and ask questions after. Peter Kuwan is writing from Bonaberry. Mr. Leo, good evening. Football is not about names, it's results. Let's wait and see. Cameroon has more than 100 professionals and all cannot feature at the World Cup. Let's wait for the results at the World Cup, like Prince and Nico Barga said. Nobody knows tomorrow. Good evening. Please, Cameroon would not win a single match with Onana, and he would concede at least 2 goals in each match. Nicolas was first the best defender, and I don't know where Nkede came from. Better use assistant goalkeepers than Onana. Okay. Mr. Liu, the coach has taken the risk. He should perform well and stay in that position. Better for him. But if otherwise, there will be too much regrets. Okay. John Paul from Douala says, I am disappointed with the coach. The Lions didn't perform well from all their test matches. He needs to work extremely hard. Secondly, then he went and called some players that were not really qualified to play this competition just because they have godfathers. I don't want to mention any names, but if your eyes are really open, you will see. Okay. Yes, some persons expected the coach to justify. Is that what other coaches have done elsewhere? Is a problem the lack of explaining why this person is called up and the other not?
Well, Leo, I don't think that there is a standard
that
has defined that it has to be done that way. But, you know, there is, when we look at football dynamics, we try to follow some dynamics. I think that that's where a lot of fanatics bother about. But I think that I would just use France as an example. There are moments when there have been editions when the list was published during I think one of the media houses in its news broadcast. Likewise, we have had scenarios where the list is published in a press conference. So there are so many scenarios for which you can publish the list. However, what's important is not how the list is being read. I think, like I've been in other platforms where people even said that Rigobert Song found it so difficult to pronounce names of some players. To me, I didn't bother much about that. Because to pronounce names of Polish players, even journalists find it difficult to do so. So it's not. But it's normal. It's not Song's name. It's the name of someone else. So the pronunciation could be very different depending on the individual. So basically, when I come back to the approach, the list, some people complained the list was handed over to him by the team press officer in the person of Serindo. But I don't think that it was just a means of handing the document to Song. It wasn't as though it was prepared by someone else before handing it over.
We're told, I got some persons that say that Song actually handed a list to him during the match to keep, and that he just handed back the...
And you know, a lot of people don't say this, come out with these background stories. They just pick out a particular message in the whole story and propagate it. So I feel so sad. You know, like Senior Barrister talked about Idrisu Muhammadu. I feel ashamed when I hear a player of his magnitude talk about the Lions with so much disrepute. He has been there, and he's one of those that Cameroonians wanted to see him out all the time. A lot of Cameroonians never endorsed his presence in the Lions den, but he was always there. So I find it so disturbing. This is a time when we need a cohesive spirit. We need to be together to look at and to encourage these guys as well as the coaching staff to do their best. Because I bet you the pressure is so high. Where Rigobert Song is, I can tell you for sure that this gentleman, his entire life is mortgaged in 7 games because he has to do the miracle. Remember, nobody vouched when we were defeated in Japoma by the Algerians. Nobody vowed that Song was going to qualify the national team, but he did it in Algeria. So I think that we have a team which is solid enough to compete at the highest level, and we have done it in so many years, and I don't think that this time around we're going to fail. I have a lot of hopes for the team that has been selected. I don't want to handpick people, because if I want to look at our team, what if you select a player and he gets injured during the tournament? Look at the French squad. The French squad will be going without people like Pogba, without N'Golo Kante. Remember, N'Golo Kante was back-to-back best player of the English League. And he won the English League with Leicester. So he has a lot of pedigree as far as managing the midfield is concerned. But France will be going for the World Cup without him. Look at Spain, for example. Spain, they'll be going without Thiago Alcantara, one of the best midfielders playing for Liverpool. They'll be playing without the goalkeeper De Gea of Manchester United. Neither was Sergio Ramos selected. Those guys were all left out. But the team is focused to face the challenges of the tournament. Likewise, you have in England a player like Sancho, who plays for Manchester United, who will not be going for the World Cup. You have a player like Tony, who plays for Brentford. He's one of the brightest players as we currently speak in the English League, but he will not be going for the World Cup. So you have a lot of players in different nations. So I truly believe when Cameroonians speak of their worries, but again, it's not a Cameroonian problem. It's a problem of football, because we have fanatics. Fans always want their own players to be fielded in the game. And even when the second problem that we are going to face is getting the first 11. Because now the problem is about those who have not been selected. But when we will get the first 11, another series of problems will step up with people, school of thought, who want player A to be fielded, and another school of thought of why player B is on the bench. That's the second challenge we are going to face. However, in the world of football, that is already a norm, having those challenges on a daily basis. So I'm not worried about, but what my major issue is for the coach to be focused, have the right frame of mind, and have the right strategy. And on a particular day, we are going to pick up 3 points. We have 7 games to emerge as world champions. We Cameroonians, we need to remain focused. We need to encourage these guys, because I can bet you we have a very good squad. I'm not limited. Today you have Andre Onana, who is one of the best in Europe. Of course, Lawrence said playing at an international level, at club level, doesn't depicts your performance at the level of the national team. Yes, it holds true for some players, but some players have also demonstrated that they can play both at home and abroad in a very good manner. When you are a good player, you can demonstrate it at all levels. Players, their performance at times, yes, we don't have the same caliber of players with whom you play on a daily basis, but I think that if there is that synergy of play, when we try to understand one another, I think that we can get the goals, as many goals as possible. I'll give you an example. In 2017, Cameroonians tend to forget, the central defense, we had Adolphe Tekel, was one of the best central defenders at the time. Great, yeah. And he also scored airborne duels. He was good at airborne duels. He also scored goals for the Lions. but nobody talks about him. Why? Because when Nkede, when Adolf Teke was left out, we brought other central defenders with whom we continued with the national team. It's going to evolve every time. We will not depend on a single player, but we should depend on the team. That's why it's a team. An individual in a World Cup doesn't qualify the team. Yes, you have individual performance, but at the end of the day, it is a collective performance of the team that gives you the victory.
Okay. No, let me come back to you. I actually forgot about you for a moment. I want us to look at the preparation. We saw the team jet out of Cameroon, but we've also not heard so much about the fact that there are threats of strike actions because of bonuses and a host of others. Do you think the team that is moving out to represent Cameroon, the atmosphere is better than the previous?
Mr. Leo, I was watching a debate on the RFE.
Okay.
And I was so surprised because the journalist asked the first person what he thought about the Cameroon squad, and the man said, Cameroon does not have the means to win the World Cup. Then the journalist asked him, have you seen the attack line? Have you seen the attack? They are going with 10 attackers, among whom Chupo, Abubakar. Just they started citing the players, and other journalists in the hall said, il y a du feu sur la ligne d'attaque du Cameroun. You see, when you talk of teams like Senegal, look at the attack. The only prominent name that could come out of the attack is Mane. But with Cameroon, how many do you have? You have these 5 prominent attackers. I mean, world-class attackers in Cameroon's squad. Look at Brazil. You look at the Brazilian squad. You see a player like Dani Alves coming back to the national team. How old is he? That's somebody who played with Eto'o. How fast can Dani Alves be in front of Mbemo? You see, I think that the coach, our coach may be just very young in the profession, but he is really blessed and he's guided. This man is going in for something rare. You asked my brother here the question about the communication.
Mm-hmm. Explaining the choice.
Yes, explaining the choice. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a practice, but that practice is destructive. Because don't forget, each outing you make is scrutinized by all the other teams. And I remember, after the match Cameroon played with Uzbekistan, the Brazilian coach went on air to complain that Cameroon allowed Uzbekistan to win just so as to hide his game. And I said, oh, this man is in trouble. This coach is in trouble with Cameroon, because if he has to complain that Cameroon is hiding his game, it means that he has understood nothing about the Cameroonian team. And you see, during those interviews when the coach explains things, he is unconsciously giving away the strength of his players. So if Mr. Song has avoided any questioning, we should thank him for that, because he has not given our opponents many avenues to know the strength of our players. When he start by even having pretending to have difficulty, he's not the first. We have some other elderly people who pretended to have difficulty. But at the end of the day, we realized that they were instead geniuses, not stupid people, because he pretended to have difficulty pronouncing Umaru. That gives the impression that he does not even know his players. It's a plus because it throws more doubt in the minds of the adversaries. You see, so it's not a nice thing to over-talk about your team. And that's why I'll ask my country people, please, leave the team alone. All those questions you're asking are going to be prejudicial to the team. We gain a lot when people don't know about our squad. If they know less, the lesser they know about the squad, the better for us, because we are going to surprise them. And when we surprise them, it is the result that matters. You see, I prefer to have a team that is rated the last, like I see them doing. But when we enter the field, I want to hear I want to hear the score after the first match. You see, when people talk about Abubakar Bensam being, oh, captain, that's that. Look, I think we should face the facts. Abubakar, he has done Abushu and all that. Yes, we love him. He plays well. But the Saudi Arabian League has been on vacation for some time. Whereas the German League has been active to the last day. And the people who should be fielded are the people whose legs are still very warm. In my opinion, a player that like Abubakar is a joker. You don't field your joker for the entire match. It's a joker. Put the others, when you see that things are very hot, you bring in the joker to bring the change. So people should stop this fanaticism and allow the coaches to do their job, because the coaches know exactly who to field. And when they will field it, Mr. Leo, trust me, I am one of the people who think that. I'm one of those who thought initially that Cameroon will bring that cup here. And I'm still thinking on that very line that that cup is coming to Africa this time. I will be coming to Cameroon.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and the rest of the crew on board. In all, we can alter the list at this moment, but I believe his choices are tailored to bring victory to Cameroon. I just wish they all give their best like they do in their various clubs, and bring in sweat and blood to make us all proud. In all, we wish them the best. Foka Shiri Fatu writing from Bamenda. The team is very good and can go with so many options. We should support them. Look like Spain not calling Ramos and the game. Why do we think someone is important than others? Let's give Song and delegation our support. They will go far. Ivo is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please, I want to ask that a list of 26, is it that Anglophones don't not how to play football? CY is writing from Limbe. This one says, I think, okay. I think club performance of players like Chupo, Mbemo, Karl Toko, and Jean-Pierre Nsame makes it a little difficult for Abubakar to be in the starting 11. I think tactically Abubakar should be second starter. Clinton is writing from Bamenda. Matuba John in Konya says, Town, let's allow Song to do his job, but if he fails, he should be fired. Mr. Liu, good evening and glad I'm watching you guys live. My honest truth is that many of the coach doesn't justify for dropping a player. So if a particular coach did, it is not as if that's how all the coaches are doing. So we should really rally behind the team and stop all these negative criticisms. Okay, Mr. Lawrence, let's look at the manner of departure of the Lions. They were handed a flag in Yaoundé. They took a jet out of Cameroon. We did not hear about much bonuses and the likes. Did we get a difference from what obtained in the past?
Yeah, we got a big difference, because I remember vividly that in 2014 in our last participation, the players went on strike, and the Angolan plane that was boarded, stood at steamer lane for a number of hours because arguments on bonuses. But this time around, nothing has been heard concerning bonuses. I think since the African Nations Cup, we haven't heard anything like players striking because of unpaid bonuses. Eto'o said it earlier that he has been a player and he knows why they were failing at the World Cup. So he's doing everything possible to fill in those blank spaces. That's why players have to be focused in playing football. And I think really we are in a different generation, a different setting, where players know in advance exactly what they are going to earn, and they receive their money, cash. And we don't spend time losing energy arguing over how much are we going to earn, who is going to earn what. I think it's really the right thing. We are doing the right thing so that players remain focused on playing football, and I think that's just what is happening. And you see the players, we had a personalized aircraft this time around, and I think it's first in history that you have an aircraft written Ale Lelion. In it, you go, you look at the seats with the Fecafoot logo everywhere. I mean, it gives fame to the federation and to the country too. And I think the players are concentrated. We are to play friendly, I think, by Friday. And that friendly is going to permit us have a taste of what exactly Cameroon's first starting 11 is going to look like. But I think right up from the ceremony, it was really surprising that the Omispo Stadium was packed full. I mean, more than 35,000 people came in to watch a game by amateur Lions and really give all their energy, their support to Ventana Boubacar to carry that flag to Qatar. And just like Barrister Nako, I'm one of those who believe that it's possible to play those 7 matches and come back home with a trophy because the Lion spirit, I see it instilled into those players.
Now, how do we mobilize Cameroonians behind this team? We saw a very strong, committed, believing Cameroonians behind the Lions during the Nations Cup because the entire nation actually vibrated in the rhythms of the Lions. I'm talking about the Nations Cup. How do we also replicate that during this World Cup?
I think we are just going to have the normal fan zones will be available, and it's true that games are going to be played in the morning or at 2 o'clock in the afternoon where people are still at work. I don't know whether government is going to take a special disposition, especially on days where Cameroon is playing, to permit people go home by midday in order to really harness all the energies behind the Lions. But I think corporations and all other companies are going to really swim on this World Cup to make more money, to make more publicity. We are lucky we are going to have the games on television, and popular mobilization will be automatic. We are not far from the Nation Cup, and I think it's just like during the Nations Cup, the build-up was very slow. We thought nothing was happening, and on the D-Day, we got the fireworks. So I think we are moving in the same vein for the World Cup. We are moving gradually closer. We are not seeing much out there, but I bet you on the D-Day or at the eve to the World Cup, things will practically change because it's imperative and important that we get there and win these games, because the more we win, the more we instill into ourselves that that pride of being Cameroonian. You see, I'm already in my jersey, waiting already for the first victory of the Lions. It has been too long that we haven't won a game at the World Cup. So we are eagerly waiting to see how the team performs, and I'm very, very confident that all Cameroonians will be behind their team.
Okay, Cameroonians are going to be behind the team. Mr. Ako, a word on the style of departure and the serenity we used to hear about so many persons in the delegation, persons who were not directly related to this team. We've not heard much about this. What are those key factors that the guys, the Ministry of Sports, the guys of Africa Food must guard against to provide the best, spirits of concentration for the Lions?
You know, thank you so much for that particular question, Mr. Kum. You know, we've had scandals in previous years. We have had scenarios where we have a plethoric of civil servants from the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education and other ministries who accompany the Lions on perspectives of going to support, but they go for different reasons. We have seen scenarios where the delegation traveled, the Lions did travel, and we heard of issues of meals and meals not being paid by the Lions delegation, which is absurd. for a nation, in terms of our standings in international football. Those things, I think they are dying down because of an individual who has stepped in. When you have the right man at the right place, things will go differently. Historically, when we went for the World Cup in Brazil, there was, at the time, we had the normalization committee being managed by Professor Joseph Ewane, who actually took the Lions to Brazil. And at the time, we had Minister Agum Garua, who was the Minister of Sports and Physical Education at the time. You know, there was a serious infighting in Brazil. And remember, these are two people of ministerial ranks, because Professor Ewane, we all know, is a former Minister of Education, as well as Minister of Sports. When we went for other tournaments, we have had issues of match bonuses. But thank God, Mr. Leo, this time around, the head of state had already signed some years ago a decree stating that talks about the payment of match bonuses whenever the Lions are going for international expedition. And I think that the Federation actually worked extremely hard to ensure that those particular disposition of that decree are being respected. And I think that reasons why we all saw the Minister of Finance, they did everything possible to ensure that money is being disbursed at the appropriate time. One other factor which we have to integrate, which is the aspect of proper planning. The Federation had submitted to the Ministry of Sports in an appropriate time in their budget for the event, Qatar 2022. And there were deliberations. And it gave room, because that information was provided on a timely basis, it gave room for the ministry to maybe to correct issues, because I think that document was handed over to the Prime Minister at the level of the Prime Ministry, even though there was questions about the budget being too excessive, but it gave room for discussion. And that's what we say proper planning leads to success. And I think that the Federation had been working extremely hard to ensure that everything is done before time. We shouldn't be caught up with time. So the fact that the head of state had come out with a decree some years ago, the fact that there was a proper plan at the level of the Federation, the fact that information was communicated at the right time to the Prime Ministry gave that serenity. Now, why do we have limited persons from the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education infiltrating those lists? It's because you have an individual like Samuel Eto'o, who takes nonsense from, he doesn't take nonsense from anybody. It's a guy who is ready to talk to the press on issues plaguing the Federation. It's a guy who is ready to talk to the press on issues plaguing the national team. And a lot of people who never endorsed him are seeing today that the Federation is making progress. The Lions, they are making progress. There have been a lot of infighting from the issues of the jersey, the sponsors, one changed from Cock to One of Sport. There have been a lot of issues. From when this gentleman came to be the president of the Federation, there were a lot of issues. Consequently, you still have some people who never endorsed him and who now think that they want to use this as an opportunity to bring him down. But at the end of the day, we should be thinking about the Lions. We are going in for the World Cup. We have one spirit as we currently speak. We want to challenge the best. And I believe that I want to thank the Ministry of Sports that this time around they have understood that football should be left for footballers. We don't want administrators to field in the aircraft in the name of supporters, whom you don't even find in the pitch. At the end of the day, you don't see them on the stands. But those people, most often, Mr. Leo, they are on mission. They are consuming state budget, and they are going with the Lions, for which you will not find them on the stands. It was so dramatic. But this time around, we don't have those people, because nobody wants their name to be heard, because Samuel Eto'o is ready to denounce any person who comes to create disorder. And I think that the serenity that we are enjoying today at the Lion's Den also goes with the professionalism that is instilled, even instilled with the admin staffs. I'll give you an example. Historically, I'm not going to condemn the CRTV, but historically, most team press officers came from CRTV, whether they knew the facts or they didn't have the facts. But today, with Samuel Eto'o, we now see that press, no matter where you are, as far as you are good, you have the capacities, you can be appointed at the level of the federation. This gentleman is going in with competency. I'll give you an example. The current team press officer.
Yeah, but this is also not to say that our colleagues who work in the media house where you cited are not competent. Please, I don't want to.
No, I'm not castigating them. Okay. I'm not castigating. I'm simply bringing out the fact that we are talking about synergy of effort.
Yes, broaden the scope. Okay.
Yeah. Synergy of effort. You now have people like Sirindo. We all know, those of us who are in the sports world know that Sirindo is one of the best brain as far as football analysis and statistics is concerned. You have Francis Mbonga, who was appointed, I think, on the 23 Lions, who is also very good in the perspective. It therefore means they have broadened the scope. So even sports analysts and journalists who are also in other media houses today,
not necessarily from the national station. Yes.
So today they also know that they can have the opportunity to be part of the national team in one capacity. So those are the kind of things that we want to see. We don't want to see the same story. We don't want to hear the same stories every now and then. Things are changing, and I believe that the spirit that we now have in the Lion's Den, that serenity, is because we talents are picked from different angle in different domains in life, not only on a particular angle. So I believe that with the current serenity, the players, I'm sure their match bonuses, we don't have issues like we had in prior years, and that makes me proud, because those are the kind of things that foreign medias always use to sabotage the image of Cameroon. Okay. And thank God we have gone past that stage.
We pray it lasts. Okay. Can we see that there is also this energy that is emanating from the elections, also trying to affect the atmosphere within the Lion's Den and Fecafoot as a whole?
Yes, Mr. Leo, you see, one of the big problems that Eto'o faced when he was running for president of Fecafoot is that many people thought that the mafia that had been built, that existed in the sports ministry and some other administrations, was not going to allow him to be elected. And we saw how some people, even at the level of the presidency, stood up and said, don't vote for him. So now that he stood his grounds, and he had a tussle with his hierarchy and won the tussle, you see, many people who are under that hierarchy said, no, this man doesn't seem to be somebody who can play with. And that explains why my good friend here was applauding the fact that, I mean, for the first time we are seeing a Cameroon national team that is going to Qatar with footballers and not with civil servants. You see, the synergy you're talking about can be better appreciated if you look at what is happening around us. Today I was watching Al Jazeera, and to my greatest surprise, I saw an article on Cameroon. Cameroon's outing. I mean, they showed how Cameroon arrived Qatar. They said, but this is fantastic. They showed how Ngando Piqué was being painted. How, I mean, the preparations that were being said, this is a place where football should be a religion. You see? So, I mean, for the first time, Cameroon is in the limelight. We are no longer behind. In fact, we are no longer considered as the underdogs. For the people who thought that Eto'o must have been a madman to say Cameroon can win the World Cup, many people are reconsidering their position, because when they see what is being showcased, they understand now that these guys are ready for something. And that thing, you won't be surprised that when any team has to meet Cameroon, they will be having sleepless nights. Because you can see the fire in the eyes of the Lions. They are really roaring and anxious to devour whatever prey is presented to them. So I think that Mr. Eto'o is a blessing, and any person who thinks that he can settle his cause with Mr. Eto'o by insulting him and by trying to bring to disgrace whatever good thing he has done, is just wasting his time. Please, you see, it's only a matter of time. I am very sure this gentleman is going to surprise all of us. That trophy will come here. I'm very sure about this. I think that when that time comes, all it takes is for the first Cameroon to win the first match. Great. If we win the first match, you will see how the entire nation, even abroad, will stand up as one man. That community we're talking of will come. Let them just win only one match. You'll see something. And you see, we have a tradition with this our team. When Cameroonians talk about their team, they say, we are going to win. We are winning. And this time around, I haven't heard much of any person or people who say we shall lose. Most people say Eto'o has a dream. We think that he's going to deliver that dream. So I think we are on the good track.
Okay.
And all we have to do is pray that this spirit, this fighting spirit that is being shown, should continue until we actually put our hands on that trophy and bring it back here.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu of the panelists just playing. One of the panelists just said, playing with clubs in Europe is different from playing in the national team. This is very true. That's why we see Fabrice better in the national team than Onana. Luis is writing in Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Abubakar should not be a starter in Qatar. Chupo should be. Abubakar football level ends when we are playing Congo, Sierra Leone, Madagascar, not big teams. Okay. Good evening to you all in the studio. Whatever arguments advance about the known selection of Nkede, discipline or indiscipline, I wish to say it is a big mistake replacing Nkede with Kulu. Okay, Frederick is writing from Limbe. Honestly speaking, I don't see them going past the group stages. Semo is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Stanislas calling from Bamenda. Onana should resign. If not, he is going to spoil his opportunity. Lockout best world goalkeeper. Fabrice is the man, but since he hasn't been called, please, we should use assistant goalkeepers, okay? Please, our president, Paul, should sign a decree for Nkede to participate in the World Cup. Thanks, okay? Fumbot is writing from Douala. Bonsoir, Monsieur Liu. I'm Eyong. E from Yaoundé. Song is doing exactly what I was expecting, including Ngom and Shoaibu on the list of 26. Is something one can't tell, as it runs millions of miles to encourage local football in Cameroon. All selected players are in good form and deserve their call-up. See you in Qatar. Whether we win or lose, I shall forever remain a Lions fan. Cameroonians like Godfather's issue, even in areas where Godfather is not needed. Football is all about talent. Honda Reeling, this is writing from Tico. Greetings to all of you in the studio. Cameroon has the best team they can boast of now, okay? Mr. Liu, I pray for us Cameroons to work in our mindset, okay? We learn how to love and support our own. That is what we need now, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu, and the panelist Nkulu was called up for the Nations Cup and qualification. He refused. Nkede was there, and his efforts led the team to where they are today. Why did Eto'o replace Nkede with Nkulu? Okay, I don't know whether Eto'o is the coach. Greetings to all in the studio. I like the way Barista is talking. It's Ndale Innocent writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. My name is Neighbor Elvis, based in the United Arab Emirates. Cameroon is having a good team, but the team have a big problem for not going with Michael. There is no defender selected to be compared with at that back part, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's Motuba Peter from Limbe. To my humble contribution, Cameroon will go far for the fact that other countries have been complaining against Cameroon for not knowing their tactics and players. It's a sign that they are confused, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just want to tell Cameroonians that the world in general is going to be shocked. Sebastian is writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Liu. For me, I think they should leave those who are in charge of the football in Cameroon should do their selection. This is Landrin. Good evening, beloved panelists on my Media Prime TV, The African Eye. My problem with Cameroonians is that we talk when it's not yet time, especially on what we don't have mastery about. There are many other nations elsewhere who were equally sidelined, but they are calm. We have Ramos, Firmino, Cantara, N'Golo Kante, etc. Please, let's wait and see what Song and Co have for us. Come Qatar 22. I love the way the senior barrister is presenting the situation. More grace, barrister. Mr. Ngwe Silvanus is writing from Limbe. Mr. Lawrence, we are looking at the best serenity the Lions can get. How do we achieve that so that they are not distracted by any person, any form of activity, or how do we get them away from what is happening in Cameroon?
I think already the fact that they got them very fast away from Cameroon, and that the players didn't, most of the selected players didn't make it back home. It's equally a good sign because we focus in training. We have Raymond Kala, who is a team manager and as former player who has played African Nations Cups and World Cup. He knows exactly what it takes for a team to be serene. So, I mean, all these former players around the team, they really have the experience and they will be a better place to really counsel the players and make sure they don't get into distractions. You remember the qualifiers of the Nations Cup, or when we played Cape Verde in Douala, it was a big cacophony with women all around the hotels and players left to do whatever they wanted. I think since that period, the minister and the federation have seen to it that when players come in camp, they really remain focused. And I think the fact that they have been far away from home makes them remain focused on their objective, which is really playing and carry the nation far. So they are professionals. You will not teach them the importance of being focused on how to become focused. These are players who equally are playing the World Cup, not only for the nation, but equally for their individual careers. You know, when you perform very highly at the level of the World Cup, automatically you have these contracts, big contracts being open to you. So a player who is conscious will really give it 100% focus.
Players are supposed to actually be given the opportunity. But is this also time for us to bury some hatchets and think that we have a war ahead? We may resume fighting after the World Cup. That is, whether you love Eto'o song or not, this is a time to accord them your support.
Yeah, yes, when you get to at this level of the competition, I mean, at the threshold of the World Cup, we really have to keep away all the grudges we have amongst between each other. Everybody should be focused on the team, focus on the team's performance, bury the hatchet, because a positive performance of the individual Lions is going to impact the Cameroonian society in general. Every sociologist will tell you that a win for Cameroon, Team Cameroon, is a win for the entire nation. I mean, we have seen nations gone at peace just because the national football team has been successful. So I think we are moving in that direction. We are just waiting for the victories and the national celebrations. But from what I see, I think we are moving in the right direction.
Okay, definitely moving in the right direction. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Question to Barrister. Eto'o predicted African Nations Cup that Cameroon will grab it, but we didn't see predicting this time at the World Cup is not taking Cameroon for a fool. Okay, hello, Mr. Liu. I enjoyed today's show, particularly because somebody is hard working somewhere. If only 20 ministers were so hard working this country would be in peace and not talk about development. Max Beguni is writing from Dusseldorf in Germany. Please, Mr. Liu, good evening to you and the panel. My predictions is that if Cameroon should win the first match, she will win the rest of their matches, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I admire the way the panelists are presenting their facts. Cameroon is out to make history in Qatar. Mr. Eto'o is a lion, and a son of the lion never eats grass, okay? Good evening. The Lions will surely bring back the cup. I only pray that Song and Eto'o be given the freedom to handle the team to the best of their ability. Alele Leon from Nya Charles, writing from Fundong. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Efficient, writing from Douala. I think and believe that we have a very good team that will surprise the world. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Cameroon is going to win the cup, okay? Everybody is very, very optimistic. What, according to you, Senior Barrister, and what is our strength?
Well, our strength is multifarious. First of all, we have a team that is technically apt.
Okay.
You look at the attack, as I said earlier. In other teams, you have a star player in the attack. You talk of Senegal, it is Sadio Mane. In Cameroon, you have a constellation of stars. You go to the midfield, it's the same thing. It is not one person shining. You have a constellation of stars in the midfield. You go to the defense, it's the same thing. You see, so our strength is that, first of all, we have players who are competent, who have the experience. All of those, I mean, out of the 26, 24 are professional players. You have just 2 local players. And of the 2 local players, one is the best player for the season, the Golden Boot, and then the other is from a very prominent club. You see, so you don't have any weak player in that squad. We have very competent players. The second one is that we have motivated players. In fact, this is the first time any African team is going to the World Cup with a declared ambition to win. We have never seen it before. You see, when you talk of the fighting spirit, what Mr. Song calls in Basa, the Hemle, that fighting spirit, it is being displayed from the time when the competition has not even started. So that has the effect of frightening all the other clubs. Say, hey, who are these people who are, I mean, we have not even started, they are already trumpeting their ambitions. And they seem to have the arguments to bring about, to make these ambitions come true. So you see, we have this advantage. The other one is that, contrary to what some people may say, if you look at that team is a team that has been objectively selected. For those who think that there is favoritism, I want to remind them that Eto'o has a son who is a footballer. He is not in that team. If you want to talk of favoritism, you would have expected Eto'o to put his son, Etienne, in the team. Etienne is not there. I mean, it means that this man is objective. He has not taken his own child to say, go play for Cameroon and World Cup so that after that you can have a good contract. No, this is an objective man. He has allowed, I mean, that is another proof that it is Mr. Song who is coming up with his team, because Eto'o has no hand there. Again, Eto'o has a brother who is also a footballer. David Eto'o. I mean, you don't see him anywhere around there. So this brings to mind something which you see, you asked a question earlier. What advice can we give to the Cameroonians so that we keep this flame burning? Now you see, the problem we had in Cameroon here was, I mean, concerning the equipment, the equipment between One All Sports and the Coq Sportif. The Coq Sportif happens to be the business of a Cameroonian too. So I want to call on this Cameroonian. If you are really the owner of that Coq Sportif, know that national interest calls. The interest of Cameroon should prevail over business interests. This is not time for you to distract our players with tempestuous legal proceedings in France, which you cannot enforce in Cameroon. So please, don't distract our players with those noisy proceedings which you know cannot be enforced here. We have been quiet on this thing for a long time. But you see, people have to know that if you obtain any judgment anywhere from any part of the world, to come enforce it in Cameroon here, there is a procedure which is called the exequatur. You have to pass through it. And in that procedure, the Cameroonian judicial authorities have the opportunity to scrutinize that decision and make sure that it is not contrary to our own norms here. You see, so now like this, what do you think a Cameroonian court will say if a judgment were to come to say, destabilize the Lions so that they are forced to wear the jersey of another country? What do you think they will say? I don't think there is a single court in this country that will allow that. So these people should put national interest first and wait till the World Cup be finished. If Cameroon wins the trophy, one all sports will say, oh yes, I provided the equipment. But Coq Sportif may come out that time and say, okay, you gave away 1 billion. I am coming with 5 for the world champions. Why not? The interest of Fecafoot is the money, the publicity money that is coming with the contract. So if one also after the World Cup want to Coq Sportif wants to increase the bid after the World Cup, that will be fine. We welcome. We'll tell one Ospo say, oh, you gave only 1 billion. Please wait a bit. Let us take Coq Sportif, who is offering 5. So please, Mr. Coq Sportif, the opportunity is not lost. Instead, I mean, you have a better opportunity to come back into the show after the tournament if Cameroon performs well, or when Cameroon perform well. And this time around, you have a more juicy contract because you will be clothing the world champions.
Okay, you'll be clothing the world champion. That is the wish. Where can we see lies our strength as a team, the Indomitable Lions? Because almost every Cameroonian believes, when you listen to the messages that are coming in, that we can actually spring a surprise out there. Where would that strength come from?
You know, from when Mr. Samuel Eto'o, from when he came as the president of the federation, there has been this energy of organization. Things are getting in their right position. When you watch from our league, the way the league, where you go to the different stadiums, you watch the population in the stadium. We watch from the Cameroon Cup finals some few months ago. You watch even the Women League, the Guinness League. You watch games that have been played some few days ago. I think PWD Bamenda they played. That was on Sunday. That is yesterday, at the Bamensi Stadium in Bafoussam. You could get the fever, and the federation is more organized. You have somebody. People talk about Samuel Eto'o being the president, yes, but they forget that behind Eto'o you have other players. Kala Congo Raymond is part of the management team. Song is there as the head coach. You have so many former footballers who are also part of the management team of the federation and managing the Lions. They have been there. They are experienced. They are bringing their experience back. And consequently, the younger generation, some of those who watch Kala play as the best defender in Africa, some of those who watch Eto'o play as the best striker in the world, see them on a daily basis. That experience that they bring in the squad is adding value and removing distraction. Another aspect where we find we get a lot of positive energy is because, you know, there has been a lot of distraction about match bonuses and on media platforms, both home and on international level. People, when instead of focusing on maybe our talents, we focus more on those basics. We don't longer have them. So even international media outlets, they find it so difficult to talk about Cameroon on a negative perspective. Whenever you want to talk about Cameroon now, we are talking about our players. When we look at the current players at the international level, most of them are performing extremely well. Look at Jean-Pierre Same. Look at, we have already talked about Choupo-Moting. You can, so when we talk about Cameroon as we currently speak, you only talk about players who are extremely good from the beginning of the season. So those are the things, those are the areas where we are having a lot of strength. Reasons why the distraction, a lot of people, there are major issues about X not being selected. We are not talking about, we are talking about a collective sport. It's not an individual sport. Collective sports, you can be the best, but people conceive so many goals. And I think that the squad that has been selected, it's so quiet. You don't have players who give you those distractions like we had in the years, so many years ago, and in other nations as well. We have in other nations, I'll just cite a few. Senegal had issues with El Hadj Diouf. He was an extremely good player, but out of the pitch issues was always disturbing the team. When you go back to France, they didn't call up Valbuena in their last World Cup 2018 because the out of pitch issues, they didn't want out of pitch issues to influence negatively the spirit of the team. And when you look at the current crop of players, you don't have out of football issues. You don't have any player like who is being accused of maybe of rape or maybe of molestation. You don't have any player who is being accused of maybe fraud. Our players are all concentrating on one thing, that is the World Cup. Those are some of the areas where I think that we are getting the strength. No out of football events. So I think that, and the last aspect is, I want to thank a lot the current press officer of the Lions. He's managing the Lions then so well. We don't have, you know, with footballers, there's always there are always little issues, and you know, it's been normal in society that when more than two persons gather, there will definitely be differences. But those differences should be managed in a professional manner, and discussions within a particular setup should end within that setup. Okay. And I think that that's what we have been enjoying this far.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence, we are calling it quit in 2 minutes. Your last words and expectations for the Lions as they prepare to take on other teams during the Qatar World Cup.
Well, at the 2000
no, it's not gone. It just has to fix. Hello, Mr. Lawrence, are you there? Okay, it's gone. Yes, your expectations and for this team.
Well, my expectations are very clear. I want this team to shine and shine very well so that they should win all their matches as the president of FECAFU says. The ambition is to win all the 7 matches. Let's qualify from the group stages and beat each and every team that comes our way thereafter. I want to thank the coaching staff, because you see, Cameroon is one of the few countries that is going to the World Cup without a single injury. We are going to the World Cup without a single injury. We were talking about strength. You see, this is a major strength, because many people were asking the question, why didn't you feel this one for the test matches? If you feel that your players and they went and were injured, who will you feature for the World Cup? So you see, we have this major strength that we are carrying a team that is sound, physically fit, no illness, no injury, and I think that is going to be a major strength that will lead us to victory.
Okay, Mr. Ako, thank you very much. I know you're going to be with us throughout the tournament as a consultant with the house. We're glad to already tell our televiewers that Mr. Ako is going to be here. I pray you join also, as well as others. Mr. Lawrence, thank you very much for participating in today's edition of Prime Hour, and also to you, Senior Barrister, thank you, and Mr. Ako, thank you. We want to thank the production team and all of you who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.